Okay, Mike Masato, CEO of Staff Driven Dental, and the Dental Road Warrior, returning for episode 81 of the Dental Road Warrior. First of all, I want to say I hope all of you out there are staying safe and staying well during this COVID-19 epidemic. I know it's a challenging time for everyone. I decided to do this video to basically give a little support and a little positive thinking during these challenging times, because sooner or later we are going to come through all this, and when we do, we need to be prepared to get back into it to help serve and take care of our patients. And many of you are doing this even though we are facing these times and at risk and going into our office and taking care of our patients, because we are in the healthcare profession and we have to provide these valuable services that we do, and there is a necessity for a lot of them for our patients. So anyway, I want to start with a quote that I heard many years ago that I really love, and it goes like this: the pessimist finds calamity in every opportunity, and the optimist finds opportunity in every calamity. And it's a good way of looking at life, because right now we need more optimistic people, because it's very easy when you hear nothing but doom and gloom all the time on the radio or on TV and social media. Everywhere we turn is a doom and gloom about how terrible and how horrible things are and how much it's going to get worse before it gets better, etc. Look, we all know that. And if we hyper magnified and hyper analyzed and hyper sensationalized every little thing that came along every year, and granted, I'm not minimizing this at all, we'd be in a panic all the time what hits us with our healthcare and our healthcare system every single year. It's devastating for many of us, but we have to stay optimistic, and that's the point I'm trying to make right now. And there's opportunity in these times for us to thrive and get better and improve. We're all going to come through this and be stronger, but the question to ask yourself about your practice and about your team: what are we going to do right now? What opportunities do we have during this time to be able to get through this and as positive as you can, and come out of the other side with minimizing the damage? I remember after the crash of 2007 and 2008, when I was visiting dentists, and I would go to dentists, and they were all hurting very badly, and telling me the magnitude of how it impacted their practice. And I get it. It was a very difficult time with the economy crashing and the banks and everything that was going on at that time. But as years went on, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, what was fascinating is I would go into these dental offices about my program and talk to them, and the number one excuse that they were telling me, or reason they were giving me that they were struggling, was the crash of 2007, 2008. Now this is going on now 4, 5, 6 years later. It's and they had not come out of it. And the main reason why they hadn't come out of it, when many others had done that, because I was working with many clients during that period of time, and they were all coming out of it. They were all getting better. They were getting back on their feet. They were improving because they were working on their business, right? And they picked themselves up. They dusted themselves off and said, look, we got to do something now. We got to get back in the game. We have to figure out a way. Whereas a lot of these doctors that were out there, they found themselves, they had gone into agreement with what was happening. What does that mean? See, it's very easy to, when you hear all this stuff over and over again, to go into agreement that that's just the way it is and the way everything has to be, and there's nothing we can do about it, and isn't everybody suffering, and isn't everybody collapsing, isn't everybody going out of business? No, not everybody's going to do that. Some will, right? But just the way the life is and the way the world works, the strong will survive. The strong businesses will survive. Strong people will survive. Strong practices will survive. If you have a weak practice and a weak mentality and a weak business and weak personnel, etc., the likelihood of us surviving and staying viable after this whole thing, it becomes a lot lower. The strong will get through this, right? And the strong ones have the best mental attitude and the best approach, right, during this period of time. They are basically taking this opportunity to continue to work on their businesses. Many of my clients right now are using this time through practicing social distancing, using things like video conference calls, or phone conference calls, meeting in one or two at a distance in the office, working on business things, whether it's receivables and other money that they could be, like stuff with insurance, preparing, get the schedule filled months out from now, being there for emergencies. I can't tell you how many offices right now of mine that I'm working with are getting emergency phone calls, because what's happened is the offices they were going to completely shut down. They have no option for emergencies, nothing. And look, there are states you cannot go in at all, but there are states that are allowing you to see emergency patients. If that's the case, you should have an option in place so you're not completely cut off from your patient base, because the emergencies are going to happen, and they are seeing new patients that are coming in as emergencies. And guess what? A lot of these people weren't tied to any practice. They were basically, they weren't really committed. They hadn't found a dental home, and now because my clients were there to help them, they said, this is great, thank you for being here for me, I want to become a patient when we come through all this, right? So there's an example of opportunities. There are people still reaching for work that needs to be done. I'm not talking about elective work. I'm not saying you should be seeing people for whitening and veneers during this period of time, but there are people right now that have disease of the mouth that needs to be treated, and you need to be there for them if you can, in, of course, a safe way. Right? Maintaining the highest, we do maintain the highest sterilization practices. Probably there's not a cleaner environment they could go into in most cases. So everything's different from state to state. Look, I'm right here in the New York metropolitan area at the ground zero, all right? And still, there are dedicated healthcare workers in the dental field fighting the good fight, and they're out there and they're taking care of patients, all right? So just to let you know, the worst thing you can do, because a lot of this is a mental thing, right? You have to be very careful not to just agree with everything on its surface and say, well, that's what we've been told, that's what they said, the ADA suggests. Yeah, it's easy for the ADA to strongly suggest everything, but they're not going to be there if you go out of business, or you can't pay your bills later on if that's the case. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt. You have to make your own informed decision about what's best for you and your team and your patients and your family, and go from there. But what my recommendation is right now, and the other thing I talked about, and having conference calls with my clients, because we've had an attorney on our conference calls giving us insights to navigate through all the legal matters with the state team, with employment now and everything else like that, and accountant talking about all these different governmental loans and everything else on the phone on these calls. But one of the main things we talked about is marketing. And I had a marketing expert on as well, and every marketing expert will tell you, everything is moving towards social media right now, and online marketing. Within the next couple of years, everything will be online marketing and social media. All traditional marketing will be out the window, right? And now more than ever, people are retreating online. Why? Because they can't go out. They're tied to their computers. So now this is an excellent time to ramp up your internet marketing, your presence on social media, to be out there and communicating. How little are we? I see doctors out there that are in communication. Put up a weekly video. Let people know what's going on to your patients. Be in communication with your patients that you're still there and you're doing well, and you're ready for them when we get through this, or this is what we're doing during these period of times. This is what we're offering when we come out of these times. Market, increasing your SEO, working on optimizing your website, working on putting things out for people to give you, positive reviews during these times. Anything you can do to outflow, because outflow will eventually equal inflow, right? So we should really be right now, because in these times, logic, quote unquote logic, where the quotes would tell you, circle the wagons, go into the fetal position under our desk and don't do anything. That was logic would tell you. There's a lot of illogic in that statement as well. You should not be doing that, right? You need to put something into your resources into marketing right now to promote your practice, to promote yourselves, to make people aware of you. And now's a great time to sit back and work on it. Take a look at all those things. How often do we don't have the time, because we use this excuse all the time? Well, I'm too busy seeing patients that I can't do XYZ. Well, guess what? Can't use that excuse anymore. Right now, we have nothing but time on our hands. Are we going to spend it, on Netflix, or on, TV or whatever, watching Tiger King or whatever the hell else is going on right now? Or are we going to spend some time working on developing on our business and working on that? You should be and get in a routine where every day you're doing something to work on the business. And again, marketing should be a big part of this. And there are a lot of great companies out there that will do this for you. And a lot of them are offering reduced rates right now. Even the company that I'm affiliated with right now is doing it on. I had them put together a special pandemic package, for all of my clients to help them through this. And a lot of my clients right now are ramping up with their investment in there, and they're putting it into the marketing. So it's going to basically help them, open the floodgates a bit when we're ready to get back in business 100%. All right. So as I said before, there's a lot you can do. Work on team training. This is a time to look at all the things and work on virtually, if we can, through team training, especially if I'm getting the assistants and we want to keep people working and giving them some part-time work and keep them on the payroll, things like that. Or if you're getting payroll assistance, utilize this time. not just to answer like, what would we do, what I want to have them do? Well, a good thing you can have them do is train to get better, to be prepared to deliver when we come back. That would be a great thing to do right now, and work on training on systems and policies. And what are we going to do once we come back and we hit with all these patients coming in the door, and all the fears and the questions and concerns that are inevitably going to come up, or the stranded patients that no longer have a dentist or dental practice for some particular reason. See, there are dozens of things when you really, really look at it. So this is the way I think every day. I try to stay positive. I'm in right now, all I'm doing is damage control every day. I feel like I'm working twice as hard as I worked on a normal basis. I spend my days on the phone or on conference calls or with my coaches are doing this every day, just helping people get through this whole time, right? And that's what I'm doing right now, and I have to do that. It's costing me too. We're all in this together. We're all going through this together, but what I'm doing but I'm not stopping my promotion and my marketing and my things, because more than ever, when we get through this, dentists are going to need me more than ever before. Like, Mike, what am I going to do, to get out of this, get back on track, get back on my feet? How to, and that's all I'm going to be doing during that period of time. So I'll be prepared when that time comes to be here for you, or for anybody who needs me, and with my clients. So when we get through this and we're ready to rock and roll again, we'll be ready to go. All right, so I hope this video was helpful to have you look at things in a different way. I appreciate you watching and following through these times. Please share this video out there if you enjoyed watching it, and I'll be back hopefully before you know it with another video, and hopefully we'll be through this next time I speak to you. Take care.